Today and tomorrow are kind of a two-parter. So today we're talking about our legs, whereas tomorrow I'm going to be talking a bit more about our knees. So when we talk about our legs, we have our thigh, we have our hamstrings, which are in the back, we have our quads, we have our knee, we have our shin, we have our calf, we have our ankle, and we have our foot. Now, I've mentioned this before, but we want to be aware of what our leg is able to do. Quads are important for things, especially like in hip hop, to reference popping, where you contract and release. And we need to be able to do that in a controlled fashion to create the effect that we need without doing damage to our knees. So there's a way in which we incorporate our hip and our knee to safely do the movement, but that all stems from understanding where our quad is and how to use it. We also talk about this when we talk about how to get our leg up higher for our extension. We talk about a pulley system, being able to lengthen in the quad while pressing out through our hamstrings, out through our feet, so we can lift our leg up. When we're talking about our quads, we want to also make sure that there's a difference between lengthening versus clenching. Same goes for our calves. Our calves are a huge thing for us dancers. We use our calves heavily in order to be able to go up and down for our releves, our toe stands. Our calves are in constant engagement, and this trickles down to our feet. Another thing that I sometimes hear and see is we forget that our hamstrings wrap up and into our glutes and into our hips. So even though we've isolated our body into these different segments these last several days, they all tie in together. They trickle down, they trickle back up. You can't necessarily just think about one part of your body. You need to understand that they all tie in together somehow. So when we talk about our hamstring now, if we're doing things like our splits, sometimes we need to also think about our hips and how they correlate to our hamstring. Sometimes we also need to think about our calves and how that wraps up into our hamstrings. So on days where we may be a little bit tighter, being able to really tune into our bodies and understand that sometimes the tightness can happen from our calves, sometimes it can happen from our hamstrings. That way we can better approach how to stretch out our bodies and better engage things. When we're pressing off for our turns, being able to nicely use our quads like we should be doing for our demi-plie work or grand plie work for that matter, and how to control all of our movements going all the way down through our feet. This takes time to be able to really isolate what's all happening in there, but these are things that we want you to be aware of. So whenever we're talking about leg placement and correction, we want you to know what's what and how it kind of all works together. Be sure to check back tomorrow as I give you part 2 in regards to our knees specifically. I will see you then.